Welcome to the Silver Spring webinar. Thank you for joining us for today's session, Modernizing Demand Response Programs with Two-Way Communications. We've got some excellent information to cover today on demand response programs, the experience of customers running in production, and the underlying technology. We have two domain experts today from Silver Spring and AutoGrid Systems. Tim Bardzil leads demand response product management at Silver Spring and brings a perspective built over the last 4 years working with leading utilities on smart grid technology and demand response at scale. Jimmy Caputo heads up product management team at AutoGrid. His insight around energy analytics, demand response system management, and big data have helped establish AutoGrid technology as a leading innovator in smart grid-based demand response. So we've characterized this session as a look at the technology, systems, and processes to modernize demand response. Let's begin with a brief discussion of some of the opportunities in the market. The volume, velocity of news, regulation, standards, and deployments at scale has been accelerating throughout 2013 and early this year. Tim, what's your view of the opportunities for utilities in the DR market?
Well, hello, everyone. And John, I see a couple of different opportunities for utilities to modernize demand response that both stem from the proliferation of smart meters and smart grid networks that have been deployed over the past several years. The first opportunity is to use the two-way communications infrastructure to evolve existing DR programs that are often running over aging one-way communication infrastructure. Upgrading to two-way communications over the smart grid brings greater predictability of load shed and better insight into the operation of the DR equipment in the field. The other opportunity is to dramatically increase DR participation by rolling out new customer-centric DR programs based on dynamic rates. These programs are very attractive to consumers because they give them the freedom to choose how and when to participate. Utilities can also go a step further and combine dynamic pricing with smart thermostats and other enabling technologies to help customers take advantage of the rate and deliver even greater peak reduction.
That's great. So, Jimmy, Tim mentioned several areas for utilities to build advantage and increase DR program effectiveness. Where does big data come in terms of factoring into smart grid DR and the overall equation?
Hi, everyone. That's a very good question, John. Everyone is aware that the volume, velocity, and variety of data coming from the grid is continuing to increase very rapidly. And this fact, combined with continuously falling costs of storage and compute power, has created a tremendous amount of unlocked value for a wide range of utility applications. And we think demand response is certainly a prime candidate to benefit from these trends. The access to timely, granular consumption and device data, combined with some really smart, intelligent algorithms, will allow utilities to better forecast the performance of their demand-side resources, monitor that performance in near real time, and get immediate feedback on their DR programs and events, all of which will help them to operate the programs more effectively in the future, launch more compelling programs, and expand the usage of DR for new kinds of use cases to solve new kinds of challenges that utilities are facing.
Excellent. So that's very helpful to set some context. Let's now look at some specifics around the opportunities in this area. The technology, economic factors, and customer mindset is now coming together. Let's discuss some of these attributes that characterize the opportunities for utilities in this area. Tim, what's different from a network and ecosystem point of view?
Well, as we talked about on the previous slide, DR is evolving from one-way to two-way communications, but it's also evolving from using proprietary communication protocols to standard IP-based protocols such as SCP 2.0 and OpenADR. And this is leading to an explosion in the number of DR-capable devices available for managing load. Where utilities used to have a choice of deploying a single type of thermostat, for example, they can now choose from a dozen or more different device manufacturers whose devices all communicate over the smart grid. In addition to the number of devices, we're also seeing a trend towards more sophisticated DR devices with the ability not just to simply curtail loads, but to act more like a distributed energy resource that can both decrease and also increase load based on grid conditions to solve some of the new emerging challenges.
Gotcha. And Jimmy, what should utilities keep an eye on from a DR management system standpoint?
Yeah, so a few things that we think utilities will want to look for as they're thinking about a DR management system. Going forward, utilities are going to want to offer their customers a variety of demand response programs in order to increase participation. So you definitely need a system that can provide a unified view of all those demand-side resources across different kinds of programs, direct load control, pricing, voluntary programs, to name a few examples, as well as across different kinds of customers, both residential and commercial. And related to that, and as Tim mentioned, you'll want a system that can support a wide ecosystem of devices and communication protocols to avoid being locked into any single vertically integrated or proprietary technology stack. And I think another key thing to look for is embedded analytics. So historically, most DRMSs and load control systems have focused mostly on the dispatch component. But to make demand response a more valuable operational resource, utilities really need a DRMS that can store and process vast amount of data from meters and devices and use that to do very rapid, accurate forecasting of load shed in order to support operational planning and decision making. And the system also needs to have the capability to do this processing and number crunching in really short windows of time so you can get near immediate feedback into what's going on with your load and factor that into how you're doing the dispatch.
Great. Thanks for the perspective, Jimmy. Let's now turn the discussion over to Tim for some more specifics on Smart Grid DR and some of the customer experiences.
All right, thanks, John. So I'm going to start off with some examples of Silver Spring customers that are achieving results with Smart Grid-enabled demand response. And then we'll dive in and take a closer look at the technology that's underpinning these programs. So the first customer you see here is Oklahoma Gas and Electric. OGE has rolled out a price-based DR program called Smart Hours, and to date, over 90,000 of their customers have enrolled in the program, which is a little bit over 10% of their customer base. Qualifying customers have the option of having one or more smart thermostats installed in their home, and more than 50,000 thermostats have been deployed, making it the largest two-way smart thermostat program in the country. The program's been just a great success for OGE and their customers. On average, customers are saving nearly $200 a year, while OGE is seeing up to 33% peak reduction, which amounted to 109 megawatts based on the enrollment levels in 2013. The next customer here is Sacramento Municipal Utility District. SMUD's been very busy testing different types of smart grid-based DR. I think they've done 6 different DR pilots over the past few summers to understand what combination of program design, customer marketing, engagement, and technologies will be the most effective to carry forward into a full deployment. SMUD's Smart Pricing Options pilot was scaled to over 12,000 customers, and they've also tested DR to two-way thermostats and EV chargers connected to their smart grid network. And I'd like to just take a moment here to congratulate both of these utilities who were recently honored with an award from the Peak Load Management Alliance, OGE for Outstanding IOU DR Program and SMUD for Outstanding Public-Owned Utility DR Program. 2 more customer examples on this next slide. Baltimore Gas and Electric is another Silver Spring customer doing smart grid-enabled DR. BGE is using smart meter consumption data to fuel a peak time rebate program called Smart Energy Rewards. What I found really interesting about this program is the fact that BGE got approval to make it a default opt-in model, meaning every customer with a smart meter is automatically enrolled in the program. If a customer reduces their consumption over a calculated baseline during the peak events, they receive a credit on their bill. If that customer does not respond, there's no penalty. They pay what they would have paid normally. The program, the Smart Energy Rewards program, was successfully launched in 2013 to about 300,000 customers, and BGE has plans to have more than 1 million smart meter customers participating this summer. And the last utility I'll discuss is Pacific Gas and Electric. PG&E was one of the first utilities to deploy smart meters to all their customers, starting all the way back in 2008. And that year, they also launched a price-based DR program called Smart Rate. Today, Smart Rate is the largest critical peak pricing program in the U.S. with over 120,000 customers. And what I find interesting about Smart Rate is that the program's been running now for over 5 years, and PG&E is still continuing to see sustained demand reductions, really dispelling the notion that residential customers on a dynamic rate get fatigued over time. So on this next slide, you see a depiction of Silver Spring's end-to-end solution for smart grid-enabled DR. Our smart grid platform is multi-application capable. So while what you see here is entirely focused on demand response, the same platform can simultaneously support AMI functions for billing, remote connect disconnect, advanced outage management, along with distribution automation, smart streetlights, and on and on. At the top of the platform, you see various utility and customer-facing applications to support DR program operations and decision-making. These applications sit on top of the SilverLink sensor network, which is a data services platform we introduced earlier this year. Through our partnership with AutoGrid, Silver Spring offers a fully featured DR management software on SilverLink, which is great for utilities looking for a fully turnkey DR solution. But the SilverLink platform can also support third-party DR applications or even custom utility applications built in-house. At the bottom of the slide, you see a variety of open standard DR devices ranging from thermostats to load control switches to EV chargers, and also smart meters to measure customer energy use. And then in the middle, linking the two, is the Silver Spring IPv6 network. Our network uses a variety of different communication transports, including both wireless mesh and public cellular communications. This transport diversity offers a lot of flexibility in terms of how we deploy a network. So, for example, a utility can start with smart meters and build out a network for demand response that way, or we can deploy more of a canopy network that blankets a utility's territory without requiring a full deployment of Silver Spring-equipped smart meters to do demand response. So moving along on this next slide is some additional information about the network and what makes it well suited for demand response. So to start, the network offers pervasive and reliable connectivity to all utility customers. And that's really important because it allows the greatest number of customers to participate in demand response. Many alternative two-way DR solutions require a home broadband connection, which can exclude up to 20 to 40% of utilities' customers from participating. The network runs at speeds of up to 300 kilobits per second to support rapid event dispatch and has been validated to reach hundreds of thousands of devices in under 3 minutes. So this level of performance meets the needs of most existing capacity-based DR programs. But we do have some customers that want a faster response for doing things like up-down frequency regulation, so we have roadmap plans to reduce the latency even further. The network supports bidirectional communication to each hand device in real time, so DR operators know precisely how many devices responded to an event, how many started the event, how many have opted out, and all of that comes back while the event is running. And this continuous bidirectional flow of information between the device and the back office also enables rich consumer applications, and we'll see an example of how we're utilizing this capability in a few slides. The network collects data from smart meters to provide precise premise-level consumption information to understand exactly what's happening from an energy standpoint during DR events. And in some deployments, we have utilities that are retrieving this data across their network as frequently as every 15 minutes for all DR participants to support real-time measurement and verification and customer data presentment. And finally, the network is highly secure with multiple layers of protections extending from the back office all the way down to the device. I've already discussed how open device standards are leading to greater device choice. Silver Springs, we've formed partnerships with a large number of these device manufacturers, creating a vibrant ecosystem of pre-integrated devices that connect seamlessly to the network. We support Zigbee Smart Energy Profile 1.1 on all our meters today, and all existing meters and devices will be over there upgradable to SEP 2.0 in the future. We also support what we call our direct-to-grid communications model, where we embed a Silver Spring communications module directly in a load control switch or other demand response device, which allows the device to communicate directly on the utility network. And this approach provides a more robust communications path for reaching high-value DR assets, and it also allows utilities to deploy DR in areas without Silver Spring meters. Our large ecosystem of standard-based device options give utilities the freedom to deploy the best devices for their specific program needs, or to deploy devices from multiple manufacturers to reduce risk and negotiate for the lowest price. Open standard devices can also support a retail DR model where consumers will go out and purchase and install the equipment themselves. And we see there's a couple different ways this retail model can work, but we think the best approach is to have consumer-owned devices connected to the utility smart meter, acting as a gateway to the home. And utilities can embrace this model by allowing consumers to self-provision Zigbee devices to their meter and offer rewards towards the purchase of qualifying devices that get enrolled in a utility DR program. So now that we've talked about the network and devices, we'll focus on the applications. The SilverLink sensor network that I mentioned a minute ago is a data services platform that allows apps and app developers to harness the power of the smart grid network. Through SilverLink, each physical device on the network that supplies data gets abstracted into one or more software-defined sensors. So to give you an example and make this real, a physical smart meter on the network becomes both an energy usage sensor and a voltage sensor. A thermostat becomes a temperature sensor and possibly an occupancy sensor. Applications can then be developed that talk to these virtual sensors to get the data they need without having to know about the details of communicating with the underlying hardware devices. Another key aspect of SilverLink is that the platform and not the individual apps are integrated with the utility IT and OT systems. So this means that new applications can be deployed on the platform quickly without the utility having to undertake a costly new IT integration project for deploying each individual app. And ultimately where we're headed with SilverLink is having a wide array of applications readily available to utilities and consumers to access through an app store. So now I'm going to illustrate the power of the SilverLink platform through a new consumer application we are launching for mobile energy management and smart thermostat control. And so you can see from the screenshots on the slide, Oklahoma Gas and Electric will be the first utility to deploy the application to their consumers starting this summer. And before I get into the details of the app, let me take a minute to step back and discuss the broader opportunity around smart thermostats. There's clearly growing awareness and interest in these devices, and industry analysts are forecasting the number of smart thermostats will grow by 10x over the next 6 to 7 years. And I think it's interesting to look at this trend from both the perspective of the utility and utility end customers. From the utility perspective, smart thermostats have significant DR value, provided they can be reached securely and reliably when load reduction is needed. The consumer's motivation for smart thermostats is not about DR per se, but more about remote programmability and the opportunity for year-round bill savings. They may be willing to participate in a DR program if it offers them an additional way to save on the bill, but it isn't usually their primary motivation for wanting the device. Up until now, these two perspectives have been somewhat at odds, with utilities preferring a smart grid communications path for sending DR commands, but consumers preferring Wi-Fi or broadband solutions that offer remote access and mobile energy management. So to bridge this divide, we're introducing the industry's first smart grid-enabled mobile thermostat app. Unlike solutions that require special gateways or broadband access in the home, the app communicates to the thermostat across the utility smart grid network, the same secure and reliable communications path that the utility can use to reach thermostats for DR control. The app allows consumers to see the current temperature reading on the thermostat, adjust set points, and make other configuration changes remotely. The app also displays alerts whenever a DR event is called in case customers want to manually override their default thermostat settings. The app runs on both iOS and Android. We also have a web version that can run within a utility web portal. Initially, we're supporting both carrier and Energate thermostats, but we've designed the app to support any Zigbee thermostat that provides the necessary commands for remote monitoring and control. So I'll conclude by summarizing some of the key benefits that we see for utilities with this application. First, the app can help entice customers to enroll in a DR program and keep them engaged to help with retention and reducing program churn. In fact, we think that consumer value is so strong that it can potentially allow utilities to rethink their incentive structures and eliminate or at least reduce some of the annual incentive payments that are given to consumers simply for just being enrolled in the program or staying enrolled in the program. Beyond DR, the app helps consumers reduce energy usage year-round, and these savings can be measured and used for utilities to help meet their regulatory energy efficiency targets. And last but not least, the app runs over a ubiquitous network that reaches all consumers and is a network that you own and control. So back to you, John.
Thanks, Tim. That's a terrific perspective. Now, let's have Jimmy take us through an equally compelling area with respect to application innovation. Jimmy?
Thanks, John. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the demand optimizer application that Silver Spring Networks and AutoGrid have co-developed on top of the SilverLink platform. In a few minutes, I'm also going to give a brief demo of that application and talk about how we've deployed it at Oklahoma Gas and Electric. So Demand Optimizer is an end-to-end solution for managing all aspects of demand response programs, including managing the program rules and customer enrollment, forecasting the load reduction from the programs, optimizing when the programs get utilized. It also supports dispatching of DR events over multiple communication channels and protocols, including over the Silver Spring network to any device that's connected to that network. And it also does near real-time monitoring and measurement and verification of DR program impact. So it's really an end-to-end solution for everything you need to run a demand response program and run it effectively. And we provide these capabilities for all kinds of demand response programs, so you can use the system to get a unified view across residential as well as commercial programs, and programs that are behavioral in nature that might reward customers with rebates or incentives to change their behavior, as well as automated programs where the utility is directly controlling a load through either a device that the utility or the customer owns. So let's move on to the next slide here. What really differentiates Demand Optimizer from other demand response management systems that are out there is the analytics that are embedded in the application. So historically, utilities have really only had retrospective visibility into their DR programs, and oftentimes only after the demand response season has ended are DR program managers and resource planners at the utility able to get any kind of visibility into what happened with the DR events. Demand Optimizer completely changes this. It forecasts the impact of each DR event, allowing utilities to sort of peer into the future and really incorporate demand response as a reliable resource in their overall system planning. Also, whereas most systems that have been deployed to date are sort of static, one-way communicating systems that don't gather data and don't improve over time, Demand Optimizer collects large quantities of granular data from meters and devices and then uses advanced machine learning techniques to learn each customer's behavior and improve the accuracy of its predictions over time. So the system gets better as it collects more and more feedback. And finally, these analytics are combined with Demand Optimizer's capability to dispatch events over the SSN network or the internet to enable rapid and automated action. Move on to the next slide. So just a little bit more on the forecasting. In terms of forecasting the customer's load shed from demand response, the Demand Optimizer application takes a really unique approach. Traditionally, the limited number of utilities that have done any kind of DR forecasting have done so by sampling a small handful of customers, creating rules of thumb, and then extrapolating from there to predict the behavior of the entire population. Demand Optimizer actually collects granular energy consumption data, device data, and weather data for each and every participating customer, whether they be residential or commercial customers. Based on this data and how the system observes the customer responding to demand response events in which they've participated, we build a statistical model for how they'll respond in the future, using the same kinds of techniques that have been widely employed in other industries like online advertising. As the system gathers new data, it continuously reevaluates its forecast model to provide updated predictions and improve the accuracy of future forecasts. And we think this near real-time, bottoms-up forecasting really will allow utilities to make better decisions about how they use DR, such as how long to continue events that are in progress, whether to call additional events or customers, and identify where exactly on the grid the load reduction is coming from. Okay. In a moment, we'll jump into a demo and show how we've deployed Demand Optimizer at Oklahoma Gas and Electric. Tim already covered some of this before, so I'll just briefly kind of review OG&E's current DR program offerings. They've got one of the largest fully integrated smart grid DR programs in the country, and it's really a solution that spans customer engagement, the Demand Optimizer application, advanced metering, and smart thermostats. They've made it into a win-win for themselves and their customers, and they now have over 90,000 customers enrolled, as Tim mentioned. And for OG&E, it's helped them reduce their overall system peak and defer the need to build another peak generation plant. For customers, it's saving them money through lower off-peak prices and giving them access to technology in the form of the smart thermostat that they can use to further reduce their energy bills and also increase their comfort in their homes. So it's a really innovative program, and it's been a huge success so far, and we're so excited to be working with them and deploying the Demand Optimizer application to help them figure out how they can improve the program and expand participation going forward. So with that, I'm going to transition here and show a brief demo of how we've set up Demand Optimizer for OG&E. So what you should be seeing here is this is the utilities view of the Demand Optimizer application as we've configured it for OG&E. There are a couple of different things that they can do in here that I'll walk through. So they can set up and manage each of their demand response programs, including configuring the program rules and scheduling events for those programs. They can also look at who's currently enrolled, where they're located, enrollment information. They can create groups of participants to do targeted event dispatch if the program allows them to do that. They can monitor what's going on with the programs in near real time as new data is coming into the system and as they're running their DR events throughout the summer. And they can also do some advanced reporting to slice and dice customer segments and figure out who is most responsive to the DR events, which programs are most effective, how is the load responsiveness trending over time. So what you see here are all the programs that we've currently set up for OG&E, including commercial and residential programs in both Arkansas and Oklahoma. Each of these is a different rate plan that OG&E offers their customers. You can see they've got more than 70,000 participants here in the residential program alone. So we've really given them a unified view across all these different dynamic pricing programs that they've set up to achieve the peak reduction that is their objective. And if we drill into the details of one of these programs here, We can see how the system keeps track of all the different demand response events that they've had. So this is the residential demand response program, the residential smart hours program, and you can see over the course of last summer, they were basically running a demand response event every day because they're constantly resetting the peak price each day throughout the summer. So the system keeps track of what price signal they sent to customers on each day, how many customers participated based on how many customers were enrolled on that day. So we've really gathered all this information into one place here. Now, the real value of the DO application comes from the analytics. So what you see here is this monitoring view that gives the DR program managers as well as system operators an aggregate view of what's going on with the load for all the demand response participants. So I've gone back to a day on which OG&E ran a DR event last summer. This was actually one of the hottest days of the summer. So this gives them an at-a-glance view of what was going on with the load on this particular day. The gray line that you see here is the baseline load. So that's what the system has estimated the load would have been if they didn't run a demand response event. The green line that you see here is the forecasted curtailed load, including the impacts of the demand response events that they ran on this given day. So you can see the system forecast things like pre-cooling as well as snapback from the smart thermostats that customers had installed as part of the program. And this forecast, as I mentioned, is done in a totally bottoms-up manner. So we're forecasting this profile for each and every customer and then aggregating it up to give this overall view. And the blue line here is the actual load. So this updates throughout the day as new meter data becomes available from OG&E's Silver Spring network. So they're able to see how the actuals are trending and what load shed they're getting compared to what they expected. And as that new data comes in, the system is also recalculating this green forecast line as well. So this is kind of the at-a-glance summary view that the program managers and system operators are able to use to monitor what's going on with the load throughout the demand response season. I'll also quickly show here some of the more advanced reporting that we've built into the application. So this tool lets the DR program managers come in and slice and dice all this data to get a sense of how effective their programs are over the course of the summer. So they can look at different programs. In OG&E's case, it's a pricing-based program, so they can look at the different, filter by the different price levels. They can also slice and dice the customer base based on what kind of device they've gotten installed, whether they have a smart thermostat or not, as well as how long they've been participating in the program. And we provide a number of different metrics, including the total load, the load shed achieved, and the percentage of load shed. So what you can see in the plot here is the actual versus forecast load shed for the entire summer last year. The program runs from June to September. And you can see a comparison of what the shed was for the customers that got no smart thermostat versus the customers that did. Even though all customers have the option of getting a smart thermostat, for various reasons, some customers end up not getting one because they don't want it, or it can't be installed at their home, or for other factors. So we're able to quantify the exact difference between these two different categories of customers. So OG&E has very accurate insight into how effective the thermostats are in helping them achieve a higher load shed. You can also pivot the data and look at it in other ways. For example, they can look at the price responsiveness, so they can see as they raise the price to higher and higher levels from right to left here, how much additional reduction they're getting. So these kinds of insights excuse me, enable them to understand how effective the program is, to make changes as they're operating the program throughout the summer, and then, of course, to help them evolve the program offering over time and identify whether new kinds of technologies can be more effective to shape how they structure their rates in the future, so they know how much or how little to change the peak prices in order to maximize their responsiveness without overcharging customers. So it's really a rich set of reporting, both looking at into the future and looking at the forecast in order to use this to help with planning, as well as looking into the past and do measurement and verification to understand the effectiveness of the programs. And so that is sort of a quick overview of how OG&E has deployed the Demand Optimizer application. So I will turn it back to John now.
Very good, Jimmy. That's just an excellent demo, and it's a great opportunity to be able to see real customer data and sort of experience from last summer. Now, for the audience, I want to encourage you to submit questions. We've had about a dozen come in so far, so there's a bunch that we can cover. But feel free to use the Q&A console. It's a widget on your audience screen to text in questions that you may want to have answered by Jimmy or Tim. So we encourage you to do that, and would love to have the discussion. So to set that off, let's wrap up with some final thoughts and discussion from Tim and Jimmy. Tim, can you leave us with some recommendations or thoughts on best practices for the audience to take away?
Sure. So we've shown some innovative new DR applications. We've touched on the growing ecosystem of new devices and shown some examples of successful DR programs. The common denominator running through all these areas is really the power of the Silver Spring network. And we recognize that each utility's situation is unique, so we welcome the opportunity to meet with you individually, discuss your specific DR goals and where Silver Spring can help you provide value for you and your customers.
Okay, how about you, Jimmy? Some final thoughts, recommendations, even lessons learned, so to speak?
Sure. So, I mean, I think building on what Tim said, as more and more smart meter networks and device networks are rolled out, as we've talked throughout this webinar, there's a lot of data being generated, and we think there's a tremendous opportunity to improve the performance of either existing demand response programs or to launch innovative new programs that can achieve both high degrees of customer satisfaction and results for the utility. So, we're anxious to work with all of you and figure out how you can better utilize all of this data in any DR programs that you're currently running or any that you're thinking about launching. And we definitely welcome the opportunity to have a conversation about your goals and what combination of software and hardware will help you best achieve those.
All right, very good, Jimmy. Well, let's now move on to the question and answer portion of our session. So we've got time cut out to address the questions that you've raised throughout the webinar. So let me direct this first question from the audience to Tim. And it's simply, how do potential customers get access to the applications that you've mentioned and the overall solution?
Yeah, so both of the applications are available on the SilverLink Sensor Network platform. Specifically with the thermostat app, if you deploy SilverLink, we can provide a trial version of the app for you to test out internally. And then when you're ready to roll it out to customers, we can work with you on branding and customization, and also then load the app in the Apple and Android app stores for customers to be able to go and download and access themselves.
Okay, great. So it sounds quite easy and straightforward. So next question is coming in from another audience member, has to do with devices and specifically, different types of load control switches on air conditioners and programmable thermostats. So Jimmy, let me put this in the context of the overall demand response management system. So do the capabilities that you've mentioned, including real-time forecasting, and the overall capabilities of the DRMS, work with both smart thermostats and folks who may have had load control switches on their air conditioning systems?
Yeah, good question. The system has been designed with that kind of flexibility in mind. I mean, we recognize that utilities are going to want to deploy combinations of devices potentially communicating over different channels and protocols. So the Demand Optimizer application supports communication over the Silver Spring network to any devices connected to that network. It also supports standards like OpenADR to communicate with devices that are using that protocol over the internet or over other communication channels. So we can bring all of these different devices into one application and send out demand response events to any of them. And then in terms of the analytics and the forecasting, we take all these different inputs into account. So if a customer has both a thermostat and a load control switch installed on their premise, we'll factor that into our model that we develop for that particular customer, including other factors like their usage patterns and weather data. So we know exactly who has which devices, and that's all built into the model, so we can produce accurate forecasts for all different kinds of combinations and kinds of customers that might be out there.
Okay, thanks, Jimmy. That's very helpful. So the next question that's come in has to do with some of the alternatives, smart grid versus Wi-Fi. So it's become more popular from a variety of vendors out there to offer Wi-Fi interfaces to thermostats. So Tim, can you take us through some of the contrast between a smart grid enabled programmable thermostat, such as the one that OG&E is using, and a Wi-Fi type of solution?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the major contrasts that I see is just the pervasiveness. Even though broadband penetration is very high in some areas, it's still only 60 to 80% of a utility's customer base have access to residential broadband. They may have access to the internet through their smartphone, but maybe not a dedicated broadband connection into the home. And so with a Wi-Fi solution, those customers are sort of excluded potentially from the benefits of remote thermostat control and being able to participate in a utility DR program if that's reliant on having a Wi-Fi connection in the home. So the smart grid is ubiquitous. It extends to every customer with a smart meter. And so that's one of the major distinctions I see. Certainly in the past, the AMI-based solution or the smart grid-based solutions haven't been able to offer some of the same rich consumer control like mobile apps. But obviously with the new smartphone app that we've discussed on this webinar, really that brings parity in terms of the consumer interface and the types of interactions and experience that they want to be able to have. So really from the consumer's point of view now, it's whether it's going over the Wi-Fi or over the AMI network, there's really no difference. They're getting the features and the functionality that they desire.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's helpful to understand some of the parameters that drive the decision making there. So Jimmy, here's an audience question that I'll direct to you, and this has to do with DR program participation and retention. So based on the experience that you covered in the demo and talked through in the context of OG&E, what were the primary factors that drove the participation and growth of that program and has facilitated retention on an ongoing basis?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, first of all, I think OG&E has done an outstanding job of growing this program very quickly and enrolling a very large percentage of their customer base. And I think they've done that through a couple of different mechanisms. I mean, they've done a great job generating awareness and marketing the program through a wide range of different channels, the internet, as well as more traditional channels like billboards and things. And I think what really excites people is just the opportunity for savings. So they've articulated a clear benefit to the customer that if they sign up for smart hours, they're likely to get a reduction on their bills if they're able to reduce their load during the peak window from 2 to 7 each day. And they've been able to back that up with testimonials from lots of individual participants. And it's just really easy for people to understand the benefits. So they've been able to sign up a significant number of participants so far, and they've had, I think, a very low churn in terms of number of people rolling off the program once they've signed up.
Okay, that's excellent. So very helpful from understanding kind of customer engagement. Let's go in a different direction with this question from the audience. And the comment is that every day we hear about yet another internet security breach, whether that's a bank or some other system. So the question is, could you please discuss the security issues and the measures and controls that are in place with Silver Spring system to ensure security and risk reduction? So Tim, can you take us through some of the thoughts in that area?
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, obviously the security issue is real, and I think that lends itself well to doing these types of things over a utility smart grid network that has multiple layers of security protections built into it. Security is a concern with all things smart grid, and so Silver Spring has put in multiple levels of protection within the network, within the back office, within our operations to really harden that infrastructure. So you're starting with really sort of hardened infrastructure and processes, and then doing the demand response, and now the consumer control across that, and then that that inherits all those security protections, as opposed to sort of doing something ad hoc and bolting on DR kind of in a ad hoc way through a consumer broadband or Wi-Fi connections that doesn't have as many of those different security protections. So we definitely think that there's a security advantage to the way that we've architected our DR system.
Very good. Thanks, Tim. That's an important topic. Let's wrap with one more question, and Jimmy, I'll direct this one to you. This audience member has a combination of residential load control, peak time rebates, and C&I, and so the question is, what are the capabilities of the demand response management system and the overall solution for a setup of that nature?
Yeah, another good question. So the Demand Optimizer application has really been designed from the ground up with this particular use case in mind. We designed it to provide a unified view across residential and commercial customers and programs of all different flavors. And so a couple of things that I think are challenges associated with that we've managed to solve. We're able to keep track of the participation in all these different programs, keep track of rules specific to each individual program, enforce those rules when you go to dispatch an event, so you never dispatch an event outside the bounds of a particular program or an agreement with a particular customer. And then we've designed interfaces, reports, and dashboards that give you a unified view across all these programs, so you can get very quick and easy visibility into where your available demand response capacity is, and then use that to determine which programs and which groups of customers are to call in order to achieve a desired amount of load reduction, even on specific points on the grid. So we think as utilities are moving more and more towards expanding the portfolio of options that they offer to customers, that they'll need all of these kinds of capabilities, and they'll need them in a single system so that they can manage it all in an optimal manner.
All right, very good. Well, thank you all for the excellent questions, and really great to see the interest and participation. I want to leave you with some resources that you can access via the web. And so if you go to Silver Spring, we have some specific areas on demand response. There's a number of white papers, papers that have been published in the press, and case studies available on customer experience. So that can give you a flavor and some more detail of the items and solutions that we've discussed today. So that concludes our presentation, and the recording will be available on demand. We'll post that on the website, and so if you'd like to share that with your colleagues, there's certainly the opportunity for you to do that and further the conversation and education. Thank you very much.